Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life.
As human beings, we're pretty amazing. As we learn throughout our life and continue what we learn, be it how to walk, how to ride a bike, how to drive a car, as we learn and then get better and better and better at it, it becomes automatic and it is ingrained in us. It happens without us giving it much or any thought at all. Actually, the action of moving your arm is a series of different things that we learned as a youngster and then became more automatic, just like driving a car. We talk on this episode about being in the car and passing your exit and not realizing that you got to that place because things have become automatic. We develop habits and patterns in our lives, and those habits and patterns then become our behavior. But those habits and patterns don't necessarily serve us or empower us as we learn more or grow more or step into a new phase of life. But we can change those habits and patterns. Our brains can be rewired to help us on the journey. And as then we create new habits, new patterns that do empower us, we're able to live our life more in alignment with who we are. We're able to live our life on purpose. It's finding where we have those habits and patterns that might hold us back, and then how to reform them or form new habits and patterns and let the old ones go so we can be all of who we're here to be. I'm with Julie Miller Davis today. As a driven entrepreneur serving others by helping them reach their goals, Julie works with business owners and leaders to reset their productivity patterns, become more efficient, and bust through roadblocks to reach their goals with excellence. She has led and developed highly successful teams, helped hundreds escalate their own businesses, and achieve goals they may never have thought possible. Even in the year of the pandemic, many of Julie's clients broke six figures for the first time. Her superpower of out-of-the-box thinking uncovers new ways to solve business stagnation, resulting in growth and propelling her clients into new and exciting directions. Julie Miller Davis, are you ready to share the miracle of you with the imagination?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vince.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure to have you here. And I can't wait to share your story and what you have to deliver to the imaginations. I've been waiting for us to get together. So I'm sure this is going to be a great show. Before we get started and go deeper into what you're doing right now, Julie, could you share a little bit more about who you are, where you came from, and what you're delivering right now?
So, really my background is in teaching, and I came from the world of a teacher where it's always been my mission and my passion to teach others, shape others, and deliver information that people can use to make themselves either intellectually better or better in other ways. And so what I'm up to now is taking that passion of mine to empower people in to step into um their own ability, their own passions, and to be able to really and truly live the life they want and build their business around that life. And also, a big passion of mine is to build community and building that community has always been part. I was thinking about this when you sent me the questions ahead of time. I was thinking about this, and I was looking at my answers today. I was like, what the heck did I mean by that? And now I know. It just sparked. When I was teaching, I taught English, and I also taught theater, and I was in charge of a couple of different theater programs and built them um, really big from nothing in these high schools. And that community piece, I realize now thinking back, has always been big for me. When I had the theater programs, it was important for me for all kids to have a place. And so I had not only the kids that were wanting to act, but I had the kids who wanted to build the set, and kids who were in charge of PR, and kids who were in charge of costumes, and kids who were in charge of the artwork. And so I had a space for everyone, and which is why those programs built from from starting at 10 people to over 100 kids. And so that piece of community has always been really important to me. And I hadn't really thought about how I had done that in my past life, my past career, to what I do now. So, yeah.
One of the things that Imagine Miracles that we share is the fact that once we really uncover the three parts of our purpose, we can look back at just about everything that we've done in our life and see where we've been living our purpose up to this point. And you that gave a perfect example of that. So thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you, and I told you that you'd say some things and we'd be going off in directions that maybe what I gave you to help prepare to be here today isn't exactly what we're going to talk about. And I think we're already there. I, I would love for you to expand a little bit on how your past as a teacher and what you learned about community, what you learned about bringing people together to truly live their gifts and talents. That's what you shared by bringing these different groups together. How did all of that experience come to help you in building your current business?
Well, what I do now is really help people tap into their own passions and gifts further than they already are, and also focus on the things that truly matter to them. And it's like they know what's important to them, and they know how they want their life to look, but they aren't able to necessarily make it come to fruition because they're so busy, right? And so something always seems to fall through the cracks. And I'm not really wired that way. I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I've always been very good at compartmentalizing and prioritizing to make sure I had time for the things that I really and truly love to do, and for the people that I love to do those things with, and also been really good at my job, like whatever that job was, and not sacrifice one for the other. There are times when, right now in my business, I'm in this is my busy season. And so I always know that there's an uptick, but it's not for very long. It's for a couple of months. When I was teaching and I had a play going on, I knew that for those 8 or 12 weeks, it was busy and it was full. And I also turn everything off on the weekends. I always have. And so there's always time to engage with the people I love and the things that I love. There always has been. It's very rare that I give that up. Um, and so to teach people that they don't have to be on 24/7, and they don't have to, and they can find ways to engage in their gifts and their passions um, that have to do with business and that don't have to do with business is really important. And if we look back at the theater stuff, it was giving those kids a way to discover first of all, discover a way to be involved in something at the school, because not all of them they're not athletes and, that kind of thing, and they didn't always feel like they belonged, but they were always invited in, always. And um and a lot of them found a gift that they had, or a passion that they had, or people that they enjoyed because of where they were. And now when people work with me, they're invited into my Unstuck community, and they're around these people, and they're not alone on their journey.
As I was doing the research, and as you're sharing uh, what it looks like and it feels like as we look around us, what a lot of people get wrapped into, they feel like they're working all the time.
Yes.
And in that working all the time, I think there are a lot of frustrations built, but at the same time, as they're building frustration, they're building habits and patterns of working all the time. How do you help people, first of all, understand where the habits and patterns come from, and then how to work through them?
um well, the f- the first the very first thing that has to happen is they have to be aware of the habits and patterns that they have. And I talk a lot about the fact that 40%, over 40% of what we do each day is out of habit, is without thought or intention, right? So we're just going through some motion, whatever that motion is. And we get up and we get up and brush our teeth and go make the coffee or whatever we do. Like that's just like we're going through that motion, right? And how many times do we drive to work or something and we're on autopilot? We don't even, we're like, oh my God, how did I go by that exit? Did I, like, how did I get home? How did I, because we're on autopilot. And so to bring forth awareness of they what their behaviors are is half the battle. And then from there, we can start combating it. We can be like, all right, so they can say, this is how I do this. And these are the tools that Julie's telling me can help me not do that. And so it's catching yourself in the act, so to speak, and being like, holy cow, I do that. Oh my gosh. And then we dig into, you know, and it's not an overnight thing, Vince, as we can't. I really believe in creating new habits. We're not going to break the old ones. We're just going to create awareness around them and cover them up with new ones. And hopefully, if we continuously catch ourselves, then the new habit takes over.
Yeah, the magic of the brain, right? Neurons
Yes.
will wire together, and if you don't use the old neural networks, they go away. Which
Hmm.
I think you shared a couple things there that I really want to delve into, and let's stay with the really what I would call a quantum leap. When we decide we want to live another way, we want to operate another way. If we step into operating that way right away, we're not going through a change process. We're just starting something new. So how do you help people on that journey? How do you get them? First of all, a two-part question here. First of all, how do you help them become aware? And then how do you get them to take action to change their patterns when they are aware?
Um, well, there's a class for that, but there's a lot of we delve into um different types of habits. So I have a whole thing that we go into habits around time. And then we have this habit of proactivity, or we're in a habit of reactivity most of the time, not proactivity. And so the habits around time and the habits around like what keep us, that if we're in a reactive state, we're stuck. We're in a pattern of stuckness and just reacting and kind of having that knee jerk. I call it knee jerking our way through. So I
Mhm.
made it. Um, and so it's really around. Um, I bring in trainings to, so our habits around time. I talk about procrastination. I talk about um, multitasking and saying yes to any and all things and making all things equal. I talk about avoiding, which all things kind of lead to procrastination, but and then I talk about prioritizing and how do we actually get ourselves to prioritizing. So it's almost like we tackle one thing, one habit at a time. And you might have many habits around procrastination, but you're going to pick one. Like, what's one of the biggest struggles that you have? And then what is one tool that you want to try to incorporate this week in your behaviors? And so it's a slow process. Habits take 28 days. It takes 28 days to form a new habit. It takes 60 days to actually solidify that habit. And so it's a slow burn, and we don't live in a slow burn society. So but if there's that accountability around, like, what'd you do, what did you commit to, and how did that go, and now we're going to layer another one on it this week and then another one on next week. And so I always tell people they go from like hearing me outside their head to having me on their shoulder to having me in their head to then it becomes like just what they do. It just takes some time.
It sounds like a process that is very effective, and I know it's effective because Mary has spent some time working with you, and I know what she's accomplished through it, and I know it's made a big difference in a lot of other people's lives. And I want to really delve on a little bit more the fact that you said one at a time,
Hmm.
because I think that's what I found. What a lot of people go through that shut them down is they try to attack it all at once. And in attacking it all at once, now they become overwhelmed. They believe they can't do it. And now the subpersonalities are agreeing with them 100% and everything shuts down. How do you get your clients to get to that place that they're willing to do one at a time?
Well, many people come to me because something's got to give. So they're at their breaking point. And so um because of the way that I train, um if I go back to even how I taught a novel, I'm not teaching the entire novel at one time. I'm teaching a chapter or two or three at a time, right? And then we're delving into those and talking about those, and then they're going to read the next few chapters. And ultimately I have this unit that has a final test on it. And we don't have a final test, but honestly, I talk a lot about how if our brain thinks something is too hard, it's going to take the easy road, which is your old habits. Even though you hate your old habits, you're uncomfortable with the old habits, they're not working for you. We know the old habits. And so we're comfortable with the uncomfortableness of it. And so if we can make things easier for the brain, and it sees that, oh, I only have to try this I only have to try to get up in the morning and make a list of the things I want to do and pick three. I can do that. If and now this week I am going to catch myself I'm going to turn off all my notifications this week. That's the one thing I'm going to do. And when I'm working, I'm going to put my phone in another room. Like, that's all I'm doing this week. And I'm going to see how much I get done. So it's like, and these are very simple examples, but we're just so used to running on high. We're running at 10 10 out of 10 all the time, on all fronts, right? So then eventually it equals 100 or 1,000 that we're running on because everything is open, everything is on, we're always available. And so we're chipping away and making it as simple as possible for the brain to go, oh, well, I can do that. Because if we try to take it all on, and a lot of people think, they're like, oh, that sounds just really hard to break my habits. And that's why I say, I don't think we can break habits. I think we make new ones. Um, because the old habits will rear their ugly heads. They will. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
especially as as we get overwhelmed, we get wrapped up in what's happening around us, the demands of everyone else. The subconscious takes over, and where does it go? To our habits and patterns, and we get stuck there. Then, so in becoming more productive,
Mhm.
what have you found is the biggest common denominator for people when they're in that stuck place? Where do we as a whole as society, especially probably in the US, because common denominators seem to come regionally, what's the biggest stuck point for people?
The biggest stuck point for people is I mentioned it a little bit earlier. There's two things I think. Number one is they're treating all things equally, and all things are not equal. All things on your to-do list are not equal. All things in your business are not equal. All people in your life are not equal, and they're just not. Some things are more important than others, and we treat all things equally, which means that the second thing that happens is we're just trying to check as many things off as possible on the list.
Mm.
And so what do we want to do first? We either want to go just from the top to the bottom of the list, or we look at the list and we're like, which things can I do the fastest and the easiest? And that's what we're doing. And that's not productive. That's just doing some stuff. Like, so that I can be in motion. And Ernest Hemingway has a quote that says, never mistake motion for action. And you asked me my favorite quote. That's not my favorite quote, but that's a good one. Never mistake motion for action. And what happens, I think the biggest mistake is that people are in motion and they're not in action. They're not being intentional about the motion that they're in. And when they become intentional, that becomes action.
Awesome. I'd love for you to speak to something that I believe wholeheartedly, and I just like your take on it. I think we tend to look at the way we live our lives, what we choose is important in everything, and then look down on ourselves when we realize that it's not supporting us. And I truly believe that a lot of it comes from just our outside training, the beliefs of society, the beliefs of those people around us, wanting to be accepted, wanted to be cared about, wanted to be loved. Do do you see a lot of people, one, getting down on themselves because they haven't been as productive as they could have been in the past? And if you do see that, how do you help them beyond that point?
I do see that, or I see people frustrated by it, really. I don't know if they're always down on themselves. I think more of the down on themselves comes with, why can't I know what I need to do, why can't I just do it?
Mhm.
And anytime that we are so close to something and so in it, we all know what to do, Vince. It's not rocket science. We all know what to do. That's why there's counselors. That's why there's coaches. That's why, like, we need someone from the outside looking in to just untangle the mess. We can't untangle it ourselves. And so I think what happens when I talk to people is it's a lot about untangling the mess, and there's grace and permission. And I talk a lot about forgiving yourself I talk about it with procrastination, like forgive yourself your past transgressions of procrastination. Like, just because you procrastinated in the past doesn't mean you're going to procrastinate in the future. Like, forgive yourself. That's the past, and you're doing something about it now. And and you'll have a slip, and we all do, and we all end up against with our back against the wall in the 11th hour for whatever reason. um and we know how to, and I'm giving you tools of how to not do it as often, and how to get out of that situation and not let everything else fall by the wayside, so that now you're back in the cycle. And so I think there's a lot to be said about that outside person giving you grace and permission of the past, and grace and permission to move forward, right? And we can't always do that for ourselves. We definitely can't do it for ourselves.
It's so important to get permission from someone else sometimes. It just opens us up to allowing ourselves to be different.
Mhm.
And when we have to make that decision ourselves, we're always trying to figure out, well, how can I be different? Why should I be different? What if I'm not different enough? All these other things. But when someone from the outside, when a coach gives you permission, kind of opens the door for you. But believe it or not, we're rushing through our time here, and I want you to share at least one example of some of the changes that you've seen in your clients through your courses.
Um, I I just had one of my clients today. We were on a call, a group call, and I had them do some reflection of where they're halfway through my program, and so I had them do some reflection. And one of them said, she goes, "I no longer feel like I'm on pause." She said, "I now am so much more in action than just waiting for things to move forward or waiting for things to happen. And instead, she's making really intentional and um, monumental strides forward rather than staying in the same spot." I had a client who really was, she was literally working 24/7. And when we started working together, and she was never able to work on her own business, all she was doing in that time was working on her client stuff. She had a marketing business.
Mhm.
And within just a couple months of just working on her calendar and her habits around time, we were able to get her down to definitely only during the week and not weekends and not at night. And then soon after that, we were able to get her down to where there was very specific time that she was working on her own business and time when she was available to her clients to answer their questions and time that she was working on her clients' businesses. And then a couple months after that, she was able to start actually hiring people to do some of the work so that she could bring on more clients. Like when you're working 24/7, there's no room for growth. Like where are you going to put people? Right? All your head is saying, well, I can't take on another client. So the universe is like, all right, I won't send you anymore.
Mhm. I'm on
Okay.
board. Yeah, I'll not bring you any more clients
Right.
for sure.
But then when you make that space and you're like, "Oh, yeah, I see where I could have a couple more, a few more, whatever it looks like," then, the flow is open and people can start coming.
I think one of the big things about understanding about being stuck and getting unstuck, as your programs are named, and
Mhm.
not spinning your wheels, is the fact that you have tools available to you to get you out of that mud, to get you moving forward. And you've shared so many tools with us already in our short time together. Could you give us a parting piece of guidance, something that you want to make sure that everybody takes away from our time together?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's really important that you take moments of quiet and to turn off the actual noise to your ears, but also visual noise. Like close your eyes for just even a minute a couple times a day and you'll be amazed at the clarity that you get and the feeling of calm that you get. The other thing is that I would really encourage people to find a way to do the things that they're meant to do. If you're listening to this, find a way to do the things you're meant to do, not all the things, not everything, because you're not meant to do everything. Some of the things that you're doing right now are other people's gifts. So let them do those things and you do what you're meant to do. Because if you focus on those things, then and those things in your passion, then big things will come your way and will happen for you.
What Julie just shared with us is what many of you in the imagination have heard of allowing ourselves to live our gifts and talents in a way that others can live theirs, because that's the new paradigm, everyone. it's everybody coming together to make the whole a better place and to change the world. And the way that Julie just shared it was spectacular. So thanks for sharing it that way, Julie. Could you give everyone an idea of how they can learn more about you, learn about your programs, and where they can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. They can go to my website, which is juliemillerdavis.com, and find out all kinds of things there. And also, there's a couple of free gifts right there on the homepage that they are welcome to download and use again and again and again, that will help them focus, and help them plan their day and get more out of what they're already doing.
Awesome. That's amazing. I'll make sure all that information is available on Julie's show page. Just go to themiracleu.com, look for Julie's show page, and all that contact information will be available. Julie, thank you so much for sharing yourself with us today, sharing a little bit of your story. And it's obvious that you're living your purpose and enjoying helping others find a direction and a faster direction to theirs. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Vince.
You're so welcome. On behalf of my wife, Mary, and the entire team here at Imagine Miracles, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleu.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleu.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.